What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite wonderful YouTuber man and bald dude extraordinaire, Shabby Cube, back once again to deliver some motorcycle content unto you. Today's topic, as you saw by the title of the video, we're going to be talking about riding 2 up. I thought this would be a fun topic, mostly because I got it from Instagram, because I put up a quick little story on there being like, hey, what do you guys want me to talk about? And this was one of the topics, riding 2 up, which is actually a great time to talk about it because I recently started riding 2 up. Let me check if this is closed, so otherwise my wallet's gonna fly out of my pocket. It is not closed. Okay, I gotta close this. The joys of motorcycling. I gotta pull over and close this pocket, otherwise my wallet is gonna fly out, as it almost nearly did. Also, as you guys might have noticed, I am trying a new camera style, because I don't know why lately everyone's saying that my angle sucks, so let's try a different one. If this one's worse, it's on you guys and not on me. Okay, pocket is closed. Keen observers might have also noticed that the Scrambler has thrown a check engine light, which is so fun. Oh man, I love having a check engine light on a brand new bike. I assume it's something to do with the tune or the fueling that we put on for the new exhaust. The bike is running perfectly fine, so I'm not too concerned about it, but it's probably something really stupid. Like maybe they didn't reset the service interval and now it's saying that it's, a check engine. All right, let's get going here. So as I was saying, I think 2 up riding is a cool topic because I recently just started doing it with my significant other, my sweet girlfriend. And, there's actually quite a bit to talk about with it, to be honest, if you've never done it before. I know that a lot of folks do 2 up riding quite a bit, and I think it's really fun. It's a completely different way to experience motorcycling, because if you've only ever ridden by yourself, you have another person on the back, things really change. Your calculus for every little single action you're taking on the bike is going to change. What speed you're taking for what corners, your low speed maneuvers, certain things you might do by yourself that maybe you wouldn't do with another person in the back. And at least for me personally, having someone on the back just kind of reminds you that safety is the #1 priority, because you do have someone who's depending on you and your riding to make it to your destination safely and then to make it back home safely as well. So I think the #1 thing that you'll notice when you first jump on and do 2 up riding is the weight. The weight is absolutely the first thing you notice, especially in slow speeds, and it's why I would really recommend getting a bike with a little bit more torque like the Scrambler to do some 2 up riding. I think that slow speed stuff on a really small displacement bike 2 up is going to be pretty tough. I've never tried it, but it seems like it would be pretty tough. And so you'll really notice in normal slow speed maneuvers that you do when you're just by yourself, you can just drag the rear brake and shuffle the bike around. But if you have a passenger on back, all of a sudden everything becomes just a bit more difficult. If you're in a tight parking spot and you want to waddle out the back the other way, you might find that with the passenger on the back, it becomes pretty tough to waddle out of certain spaces because all of a sudden you have an extra 100 to 150 pounds, depending how big your significant other is. And that does make it pretty difficult. Difficult is what I meant to say. I think the other thing you'll notice as well is the difference in performance of your motorcycle. It changes dramatically. It changes so dramatically when you add a passenger in the back. You'll notice that your acceleration is completely different. Your throttle it feels a little bit different because there's so much more weight. You just don't have the same kind of flexibility of acceleration and handling as you normally do. And so my #1 tip for riding 2 up would be just kind of take it easier in almost all aspects of riding. You just can't accelerate away from a traffic light like you normally would by yourself. You've got another passenger in the back. It's just going to make it a little bit tougher. The third thing I wanted to talk about is, if you have a passenger on the back who has never ridden a motorcycle or been on a motorcycle, That's very different than a passenger who has ridden before and knows what to expect, or has been a passenger before and knows what to expect. There's actually, you know, if you are taking someone out who has never been on a bike before, you might want to give them a quick rundown of, you know, whenever the bike leans this way, to lean with you and to just not shuffle around very much during low speed stuff. And, you know, just kind of how to educate them on how to be a good passenger, really, is what I would say. Because it is important. You can be the best rider you can be, but if your passenger's doing some really unpredictable stuff, or is just kind of being just, you know, not leaning with you in corners, or just kind of acting a bit erratic, it can be really deleterious to your riding. Deleterious, wow. Good vocabulary, Mr. Yam, good vocabulary. The other thing I would recommend as well is be mindful of fatigue. Riding 2-up is a little bit tougher than riding solo, so if you're doing a super long ride with someone 2-up, just know that whatever you normally consider like a good distance that will nice and, you know, wear you out, that distance is probably going to be reduced by about 20% when you do 2-up. Unless you're doing big highway miles, then it's basically the same thing, but around the town kind of stuff and twistier riding, it is more challenging when you're 2-up, and it does fatigue you, so that's something to keep in mind. But overall, riding 2-up really does provide a completely different experience when it comes to riding. I think it also will transform you into a better rider as well. That's definitely something I've noticed, that, you know, riding 2-up just gives you a little bit of a different feeling when it comes to riding, and it will allow you to really kind of flex and understand some of the core fundamentals of riding, like your throttle control, your rear brake sliding, your low speed stuff, your cornering. You really get to learn more about your own riding and more about your own motorcycle when it comes to riding 2-up. So I think that's pretty sweet. I think it's made me into a better motorcyclist to have the ability to, you know, ride 2-up. I think the other thing that's really important too is having a communicator system when you ride 2-up. Even though when you're at like a stoplight, you can very clearly hear the other person through their helmet because they're right behind you. But when you're at speed on the highway at 60 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour, they can yell as much as they want. It's going to be really tough for you to hear them, especially if you have earplugs in and your helmet and all that. So I would definitely recommend getting a comm system so you can stay up to date on what's going on with your passenger if they need to pull off for whatever reason, for whatever's going on. Otherwise, you can go pretty old school with it, and, you know, if they just like tap you on the leg or something, you'll know that you need to pull over. That should be fine. But I do recommend getting a comm system so you can have more nuanced and you know, better kind of communication with them. Me and my girlfriend, for example, I really love the fact that we both have our Cardo systems and we can talk to each other while we're going down the road. That way, if she needs to pull off for whatever reason, we can, and it's no big deal, and I know what's going on, and it's simple to plan it. The other thing I would say is, if you don't feel comfortable about riding 2-up, don't do it. I was pretty nervous about doing it for the first time, mostly because I wanted to be very safe. I wanted to make sure that my significant other wasn't going to have any kind of issue, weren't going to get into a wreck or anything, because it's pretty scary. You know, you're fully in control of this other person's life, and that can be pretty daunting. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty daunting at first to, you know, pull out of the garage and to start riding and be like, oh my God, like, you know, I've got this person on the back of the bike with me. Like, we've got to be very safe today, because I wouldn't, not to say that I wouldn't mind getting into a wreck. I'm obviously not trying to get into a wreck myself, but I would feel double, triple, maybe even 10 times as worse if we were to get into a wreck and a passenger was on the back of the bike with me, because then all of a sudden, you know, you've now injured another person. It's just, I would never be able to sleep at night if I did something like that. So safety is the number one concern. If you do not feel comfortable, if you feel some extreme trepidation about riding 2-up, I would say don't do it. Just wait it out, kind of allow yourself to be a little more comfortable over time, and then give it a shot, you know. But I will say it's not as bad as you think. I was pretty nervous to do it the first time, but it really is not as bad as you might think, honestly. Got a little bit of a wreck over here too. Motorcycle cops. Cops here in Austin have been rocking these GSs and some other BMW models rather than the old traditional Harleys that I've seen in Dallas. So they're out here trying to catch folks, you know. But I do like how they squid. You see that guy over there? He's squidding. Got his modular, short sleeves, no gloves. It's kind of funny, man. It's kind of funny. Yeah, the other thing I would say as well is for super low speed stuff, like if you're trying to get out of a parking spot or you have like a bit of a hill you're trying to maneuver around, I think it's perfectly okay to turn to your partner or your significant other and just be like, hey, I've got to, move this bike around. Will you jump off for a sec and let me shuffle it and point it in the right direction? And then we can get going where we're trying to go. Because the last thing you want to do is do a lot of that shuffling and a lot of those maneuvers when you are on the bike and the other person is on the bike. Because that's just going to make it really tough, honestly. Nate, if you could just obviously do not put in this part where I have my cards out and have my PIN number and all that. Had to stop and get some gas for the old scrambler. Did I lock up this pocket? Yes, I did. Okay, thank God. So guys, I think that'll wrap up my thoughts on 2-up riding. Again, it's not as bad as you might think when it comes to starting out in 2-up riding, and you'll be amazed at how when you pick up some speed and you just start getting going, it's really not so bad, honestly, all things considered. I don't know, it could be a lot worse than you think it is. It's really not so bad. But anyways, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Feel free to hit the subscribe button if you have not yet. Also, go and check out the links below on how you can learn how to win our R3 or SV650. Pretty sweet stuff. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.